Yo, it's Premonitions, PR3, number 3, where the letter E supposed to be. Third eye open, that's why I see what they can't see. And we back with another video on our Third Eye Talks Hoops channel. So, before I do anything, gotta make sure I'm showing love and appreciation to every single person who's been supporting, clicking on the video, smashing the like button, subscribing, commenting, keep that up, man. I feed off the engagement, I feed off the debate. If you haven't, go check out that top 25 players heading into next NBA season. Because today we're going to be talking about Darkhorse MVP candidates. Now, what do I mean when I say a Darkhorse MVP candidate? Simply means somebody who I don't necessarily think is going to win it, but if things go their way, things go their team way, it's very realistic that they'll find themselves in that top 5 and definitely receiving some MVP votes. So, the criteria I'm using for my Darkhorse MVP list is simply you cannot have received any MVP votes last season. So because of that, these are the players who are disqualified from being a Dark Horse MVP candidate on this list. So Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, Domantas Sabonis, and Kevin Durant are all disqualified. They got votes last year. They're not Dark Horses. So I don't want to waste no more time. We're going to jump in with our very first Dark Horse MVP candidate. One of the kings of cringe, point guard from the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton. So, last year, Tyrese put up about 20 points per game, around 10.9 assists, and around 4 rebounds. So, the stats are there. One thing you're going to hear me say a lot in this video is narrative, because when it comes to winning the NBA MVP, stats have never been the only thing that matters. It matters about narrative. If we only looked at production, then Jordan, LeBron, and Shaq would have won it every year. But from a stat standpoint, look, Tyrese is putting up over 20 points per game. He's probably going to lead the league in assists again. And the Indiana Pacers should have around the top 5 offense and be competing for around that mid to high 40s win total. The narrative that really plays in for Tyrese Halliburton is the fact that he's the king of cringe. Like, it's kind of weird to say, but sometimes we really love that underdog and we really love those weird people so much that if Tyrese hits that right wave, they get some nice nationally televised games. The Pacers are competitive. They do play a fun brand of basketball to watch. I got to give them that even as a Knicks fan. I could really see a lot of people in the media and even fans kind of just rallying around Tyrese. Like, we call him the king. I call him the king of cringe. He is kind of cringy, but he's also kind of quirky. He's kind of weird. He's kind of funny. And look, in 2024, people like that. They like to support that. They like to rally behind that. And he's not some top flight prospect, so he can always play the underdog card. Look, do I expect Tyrese Halliburton to win the NBA MVP? Absolutely not. But would it shock me at all if he's receiving MVP votes, even a top 7 finish? Wouldn't surprise me either. So my first Dark Horse candidate is Tyrese Halliburton from the Indiana Pacers. My second Dark Horse MVP candidate is a guy who didn't make the top 25 list heading into next season, but I do legitimately feel like he can be. That's Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat. So last year, Jimmy put up around 20.8 points a game, 5.3 assists, and 5 rebounds. So, from a stats perspective, Jimmy's not a high volume scorer, but he does have the potential to up those points per game a little bit, and I think he will need to. I think if Jimmy can get himself around 23, 24 points per game, that'll be enough for some people to take note on the MVP recognition. Next, I think Jimmy's going to come in really, really motivated, and this plays into the narrative. Like, we see what's going on in the offseason. The Heat didn't want to give him the max contract extension. Seems to be maybe potentially a little bit of a rift between him and Pat Riley. So we have that going for him. Next, the Heat are going to be well coached. We get a full season with Terry Rozier there, as well as like the internal development from young players like Jaime, like Nikola Jovic. Like, the Heat will be competitive. And once again, Jimmy's coming off a season where he did not play. People were a little bit down on him because we didn't even get to see playoff Jimmy. So if he's motivated and healthy, contract year, well-coached team, some good young talent, Bam Adebayo, and if he can attack on like a few more points per game, it's totally realistic for me to see Jimmy Butler receiving some MVP votes, because you know the Miami Heat also carry that culture of respect. And Jimmy has a strong reputation around the league for just being a dog and being the type of player who you want to root for. So my second Dark Horse MVP candidate is Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat. Third Dark Horse MVP candidate. And these are ones where narrative is really going to come into play. Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics. Now, last year, Jaylen Brown put up around 23 points per game, about 3.6 assists, and 5.5 rebounds. So, from a stats perspective, the thing that Jaylen Brown has working for him from a stats perspective is that for him, 23 points per game would be enough to get significant MVP recognition because we recognize that he plays on a really, really strong and stacked team. So on a team that already features Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, Jrue Holiday, he doesn't need to score 26, 27 points per game in order for people to take notice of the fact that he's really impacting and winning. Now let's get into an even more interesting part of the narrative. And that's the fact that he plays on the same team as Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum right now, for whatever reason I think is unwarranted, is one of the most over-scrutinized and kind of disliked players in the league. And the fact that Jason Tatum is so disliked actually plays into Jaylen Brown's favor when it comes to the narrative point of him potentially winning the MVP. Look, he plays with Jason Tatum. People are going to be real quick to not give Jason Tatum any love or any credit. And if they don't want to give the credit to Tatum, they don't want to give the love to Tatum, where's all that love going to go? It's going to go to Jaylen Brown. And not to mention, once again, he puts up good numbers. He impacts winning. The Celtics are going to win a bunch of games. Jaylen Brown is a really smart player. He's a really smart person off the court. And another part of the narrative he has working for him is with what happened with the whole Olympic situation, he's kind of riding that anti-establishment wave. And we all know that people love to root for people who go against the machine. So, once again, do not expect Jaylen Brown to win the MVP, but I would not be surprised if Jaylen Brown got some top 5 votes and finished around that area. So my third dark horse MVP candidate is Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics. My fourth dark horse MVP candidate comes out of the city of brotherly love, point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers, Tyrese Maxey. Now, last year, Maxey put up 25.9 points per game. He put up 3.7 assists, as well as 6.2 rebounds. So, why is Tyrese Maxey a dark horse MVP candidate? Well, friendly, he has the numbers. Like the points per game are there, the assists are there. May have actually misspoke. Actually, I'm sorry, I believe it was 6.2 assists and 3.7 rebounds. So he has the numbers there. But let's get into the narrative aspect. First and foremost, Joel Embiid is going to miss a bunch of games. And last year, the 76ers were not equipped to survive when Embiid missed games. This year, they got Paul George. And what I'm trying to get y'all to understand is, when Embiid is not there, that is still not Paul George's team. That is Tyrese Maxey's team. He's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to be running the show. When the game's on the line, he's going to be making the clutch plays. And as he's shown last year in the playoffs, he's not afraid of the big-time moment. And those are also the things that really plays into MVP consideration. Not just winning, not just stats, but moments. And Tyrese Maxey's willingness to show up in the big moments means he's going to be seen a lot. Next, he's likable. Like, it's a whole video of him online going over to this little girl at one of his basketball camps who was having a hard time. He's cheering up. He's pumping her up. Look, if you can't be infamous, be liked. And the reality is right now, Tyrese Maxey falls into that situation where everybody likes the dude. He's just a nice guy. He's always smiling, always having a good time. And he gets buckets, and he gets buckets when they matter. And now the 76ers have Paul George, so they're going to be able to remain competitive when Embiid is out. Look, Tyrese Maxey, to me, will he win the MVP? I don't necessarily think so. But the 76ers should absolutely be competing for a top 3 seed. Joel Embiid, when he's there, will produce. They now have Paul George. The winning, combined with the fact that he's liked, combined with the fact that he can put up some numbers in the clutch especially, Tyrese Maxey is my number 4 candidate for a dark horse MVP going into next NBA season. And my final dark horse MVP candidate. It's kind of crazy to call this man a dark horse, considering the fact that you can make a case the man should have about 10 MVPs if we just went off of what you do on the court. But we don't. Narratives come into play. And the man who may have just had a storybook finish to the Olympics with that MVP finish is my final dark horse MVP candidate for next year, LeBron James from the Los Angeles Lakers. So, LeBron last year put up 25.7 points per game. He put up 7.3 rebounds as well as 8.3 assists. The numbers are always going to be there for LeBron. He did all that while shooting 54% from the field, while shooting a career high 40% from 3. The numbers are there for LeBron. That's always. Where is LeBron going to be able to win from the narrative standpoint? First and foremost, before we get to narrative, I expect the Lakers to win more games. Once again, D'Angelo Russell contract year, motivated. AD coming off possibly the best individual season of his career. Then they're getting back Gabe Vincent, back Jared Vanderbilt, two solid defenders, and Gabe Vincent, a guy who can knock down threes. The Lakers will win more games. But from the narrative standpoint, LeBron, we don't know how much more time he has left. We just saw him lead the Olympics, lead Team USA to a gold medal. And even though Steph Curry was balling those last couple games, LeBron was the best player on that team from start to finish. If you watch the way the players rallied around him, the way they respected him, coming into this season, I think that's going to help LeBron because now we're not tired of him. I think what was working against LeBron, especially early on when he wasn't winning MVPs, people kind of got tired of him. They got the fresh flavors, the fresh faces, whatever. Right now, coming off that goodwill that LeBron just got from the Olympics, the fact that he's getting back some solid role players, the fact that he's going to be motivated because he said it himself. He understands his time is ticking. He might not have much meaningful basketball left. Look, LeBron James, to me, this year will be fighting for a top 5 finish in the MVP. He has the numbers. Right now, people are not going to be tired of him. So he's going to have the narrative working in this place. And I fully expect LeBron James to be a Darkhorse MVP candidate heading into next season. And that is where we're going to close out the video. Look, once again, like, comment, subscribe, share. Appreciate all the support. Look, tell me, do you agree with what the third eye sees? Tell me why you think I'm wrong and I'll show you where I'm right. Have a blessed day.